just realized something. Does anyone know how to pull a GitHub thing like raw, like HTML, or should I just plug in my laptop?
You can try plugging it up.
I forgot it's gonna like view source it as opposed to like load it.
Okay.
There's probably a way to do that, but
If you go to
Press the raw
rawgit.com,
raw.
do you need the file or do you want to display the HTML?
I need the file and then includes around it.
Yeah, if you go to rawgit.com and paste the file,
Okay.
it should render everything around it.
Okay. Cool. Let me see.
So just go to rawgit.com. Or yeah, after you go to your thing.
Yeah. And then go to. Do you know how to?
Then you find the file that you want,
Uh-huh.
and then grab that, index HTML,
Grab
just
it.
the URL,
Uh-huh.
and then copy and paste that at rawgit.com. There's going to be a field there, and it'll
Just go over to raw.
Yeah, just rawgit.com, not raw.git.
Oh. Hey. Cool.
Then you grab one of those two.
Yeah, the article was probably the best.
Yeah, otherwise it'll crash it. And nope.
I'll just go with it from the. Yeah, then just like.
Oh, like do it. Yeah, I could clone it.
Yeah.
Sure.
And then open it.
Yeah. Good. Okay. Okay. Oh, what's going on?
Okay, where's the notes?
Hold on a second. You wanna?
We can try and connect your computer if it's on.
Yeah, we can just do that. Do you have HMI or? Oh, okay, great, cool. It's not picking up the monitor yet.
Nori, does it work? Does it not show?
Yeah, I think it's good. Wait for it.
Should I try to?
It's gonna well. There you
Oh,
go.
okay.
There you go.
All right, cool. That's cool. That's fine. Okay, sorry, I just flew in from San Francisco last night because I saw Hamilton.
Woo!
And I took a red eye right from the show, so all right. So I'm a little out of it. Okay, so I work with Dan Schultz at the Internet Archive, and we've been colleagues and worked on other stuff before, like Popcorn. I'll give a brief shout out to that. So I've been at the archive for like 20 years, and I figured I'd go over some of the stuff that we're doing related specifically to closed captioning. I know Dan gave a little bit of an overview, but just some numbers and stats. We do 50 to 100 TV channels 24/7 all around the world, and we've been doing it since 2000. So, one second. Yep. Come on, monitor. Just wait for it. Okay, cool. And at this point, we only put up news, and we have 2 million news shows available online to watch and 30 seconds to 3-minute clips, and you can search all the captions. So thought we'd do a really fast demo, and just go to archive.org/TV. And so let's say you want to search for, I don't know, well, how about Hamilton? This will search all of the captioning. We're updating this interface, but this is the basic gist, and it will give you some information about period of time hits, different programs and shows. We've added BBC News since just before the election. That's a new ad for us. And then you can go further and restrict it to different collections or subsets, but I'll get into that in a second. Why did my thing go away? Huh, now it's doing it. Hold on a second, something's up here. Four. Huh. Okay, hold on a second. Does it make all those sense to me? Huh. It's white screening here too. All right, hold on a second. Try something else. Well, I could try to take a few minutes offline if, wait, now it's back? Okay. Okay. Appropriate. So the next thing that we've been working on is something that we're referring to as the third eye. And it's sort of experimental right now, and the idea is to read the lower thirds and to see and compare around big network events. So we've been looking at the Comey testimony and the Sessions testimony, and just sort of seeing, like, through the usual suspects like Fox News, MSNBC, CNN, and BBC News, what are they reporting? What are they trying to, summarize for us? And just this is really experimental. But this is the idea here is to try to group some of the captions in the lower thirds that have been OCR'd with Tesseract, and try to do a little bit more intelligent kind of setting up and grouping. So what I'm doing now is I'm pulling every second, and then I'm OCRing the lower thing, and then I'm using something called a similarity hash, which will tell you where the OCR'd stuff is really close to the other thing that you just OCR'd. So like, maybe a character flipped or 10 characters flipped, but it's enough to say it's close enough, so just count it. And then you can basically shout out, you can, sort of take almost the best one, because this one might have hit, in this 5-minute period, 7 times or something like that, or 50 times or something like, well, maybe not 50 times, but so you can just bubble that one right up to the top and say, that's the best one for this. We did the same thing for the Comey. I think I was just on Sessions. But, and what we found is they repeated a lot of the lower thirds, and sometimes that's probably in between. I assume there are broadcasters here who know about this kind of thing, but it's probably between the editors figuring out what's going on and what they want to say. But it made it more interesting to see which are the lower thirds that they would repeat over and over again. And we just went over basically some of this. So that's kind of my go-to is SimHash and Tesseract these days. Just they're pretty good, and when you put them together, they're quite good. They're not perfect, but they're quite good. And so then yesterday I set up a little Twitter bot, and that is now with a kind of creepy image. It's watching CNN, and it's basically doing more or less what we saw, but it's doing it's about a minute behind live because we wrap our minutes minute by minute. So once the minute is wrapped on our end, I throw it through the whole process, and yeah, it's kind of cool. It's imperfect, but could be useful. And we haven't really announced this, but it's up there. And we're having fun with it. So that's kind of cool. And we'll probably, if the team ends up liking this or we decide it's a pretty good idea, we'll expand it to the other larger networks and figure out what we're going to do with it. The other one that I thought would be interesting for this mini conference, is it's not specific to BBC News, although they're one of them. The European DVB standard has you burn in glyphs for the characters as opposed to like a text track woven into like line 21 or whatever. So I was looking into basically the same kind of gist of lower thirds, CC Tesseract, but then I found out CC Extractor, like a month after I started playing with that, actually put this feature in, which is pretty cool. It's a little flaky, but it's not too bad. So I've been playing with basically laying images over each other and sort of say, if this one fits or is very close to fitting inside this image, then probably you can just throw this one out because it's sort of rolling. BBC will sort of roll the captions, and they'll sometimes repeat them, and then they'll do two lines that sort of roll up and inch up. And then again, doing some deduping with SimHash and things like that. The other thing that's kind of exciting for us is we have a Trump archive on the TV, so you can just search things that Trump has said or tweeted. We're getting a lot of his tweets as well. But we're going to have congressional archives as well. They're kind of soft launching, but we're going to try to launch that for real next week. And so you'll be able to look for Pelosi, Ryan, McConnell. Almost everyone in the Trump administration has some coverage as well. So we're trying to get like a pretty good set of people that you can sort of drill through. And that'll make it so you can almost browse the archive as opposed to just, you have to think of something they've said or that someone's reported about them. And then in addition, you can now, if you just go to like Nancy Pelosi, you could find the clips that are played the most in the archive. And that's kind of interesting without having to do any search. To make some of that possible, we have this thing we're calling clips. I think Dan sort of made a sentence or two about that yesterday. These are basically little JSON annotations. I'll show you one in a second. And it allows us to peg kind of arbitrary JSON at start and end points just about anywhere. And what ends up happening is when we index the main show to our Elasticsearch search engine, we sort of synthetically apply whatever that JSON blurb is to the same start and end, to the start and end that it's pegged at, and insert a synthetic document so that we'll have the captions that are trimmed to that area, so you can basically search just that. So it's kind of an interesting thing for us to be doing. And we're using JSON Patch. If I don't know if people probably have heard of JSON Patch. Kind of love it, kind of hate it. I mostly love it, but there's some really hokey stuff to it. And we're also tracking play counts and some of the refers for these clips. And this is an example of our clip. So, and I forgot who was talking. Blaine was talking yesterday about a non-standard, because he's sick of standards, I think, if I got that right. But maybe we should talk, because we sort of made this up a little bit, but it's also based on what our needs were. So we were tracking political ads for a while, so we pulled our database out and stuffed it in these little JSON snippets that explain some of the ad features. This is how you could peg this start and end. I can't use slashes because it's JSON and JSON Patch, excuse me. So I have to use vertical bars, yeah, I know. But this is how you could peg this period of time range for the Nancy Pelosi archive, and you can peg it with a subject or something like that. And then the other stuff we've been working on, which may or may not be of interest, is popcorn. I wrote popcorn twice. Popcorn. And we have it on the archive at archive.org/pop if you want to play with it and remix. And Dan's also been doing some work with me and some other people. Lorian's done an immense amount of work on this, as well as others. So it's up on the archive, and we'll see if it gets more traction or whatever. And then someone mentioned Ted Nelson. He's a guy who comes by the archive a lot, and he really likes popcorn because it's really like the transcluding and being able to peg different sections of time together. And we're doing more real-time experiments, and just a shout out to ES6JS. It's changed my life. I'm sure it can change yours. That's it. Questions? Not my cat. Next question. I wish it was my cat. That's adorable.
Trace, for the sim hash.
Yes.
Is that, I'm looking at the GitHub, but the documentation rules one. Does it return just a true false for you, or can you set a similarity parameter like 99% or?
Yeah. It gives you between 0 and 1, and you can do it. It's bi-directional, so you can sort of do it each way. And it's a little wonky. I mean, for doing two things, it's pretty easy. The normal way that they do it is you compute a hash, you compare them. I took that code and then just sort of lightly modified it to spray a bunch of text at it, like in lines, and then it would sort of give you a matrix of comparisons. But for this purposes, I only needed the basic simple use. So it is kind of wonky. You're right. There might be a better one out there, but they're all doing similar stuff. It's making like hashes like Dan's audio fingerprinting. Same idea. But email me and I'll. Yeah.
What's that? Good question.
Mhm.
Can you? Ted Nelson, I'm a big fan.
Yeah. Me too.
And what are transcludes?
Trans.
How do you describe them?
Well, whatever I say, he and Richard Stallman will rip me up for it. I will have said it wrong, but just no. But the idea, and especially Ted's idea, is more to have like documents, like 10 different documents that are all linked together with visible lines, and you can. He has these cute names. If you know Ted, he's quite a character. It's like swoove or something like that, or swarf. You swarf them, so you morph and you swipe them in, so they come flying in and out, and like you see all these connections, and you just realize like his brain is really big and just has this space for this kind of 3D kind of very highly visual kind of thinking. So he views the internet as flawed, that it's sort of this flat two-dimensional like link hypertext, which he coined as a phrase, but he wanted it to be bigger so you could actually see kind of behind the scenes with the scenes. That's my sort of takeaway from Ted.
Question on the Eclipse JSON format. What was the rationale for not choosing, I don't know, web application data model or some?
Time. We were under some time pressures, so we mostly just kind of flailed. And at one point, Dan was like, "We really should," and I'm like, "We had a lot of. We really wanted to get the Trump archive only started this year, and that was our first archive, and we really just wanted to have a record of whatever was going on."
But there was not like argument against.
No. It was just time. But once the Trump archive went out, then our editors felt some concern that it might make us look partisan. So then we're like, we really need to be more balanced. And I was being slightly glib, but I was saying like, if there's a Democratic president, we'll put them up there too. But they're right. We don't want to appear that we're just trying to peg Trump. So But yeah, we could probably change. It'll take a little bit of effort to change, but it's relatively flexible, Jason. So we could switch it to something more standard. So yeah, let me know if between you, Blaine, and other people, like, I'm here to learn. Give me a good format. Cool. All right, thanks.